Hello, and welcome back to the Coop De Villa channel. I'm Scott Cooper, and I'm here again with Noah Fisher, and we're here to discuss Aston Villa versus Tottenham Hotspur from way back on Friday night. And we're also going to look forward to the last game of the season, the final day, and all the calculations and the different scenarios we need to talk about for us to get Champions League football. It's going to be a drama-filled day, and we will be covering all of that and much more after this. And yes, welcome back to Coop De Villa Live for another week. Yes, I'm here with Noah again. And Noah, how you going, buddy? We're here for the second last show of the season, I guess. And look, it's a huge week. Obviously, Villa did the business against Spurs, what they had to do. We've got one game to go away at Old Trafford. And look, it's been a up and down season, a bit of a roller coaster. Pretty good season all around, to be fair. And the fact that we're back in Europe, no matter what, is fantastic. But there's been a lot happening since the last show, and of course, it all started on Friday night. We'll get to that now. With the 2-0 win against Spurs, it was a bit of a straightforward win, but they did make us sweat for a while until Ezri Konsa got the goal, and and then the second one from Kamara, which was great to see him score. He obviously doesn't do that very often. I think it's about one goal in every 50 appearances in his whole career. So you don't see that very often, but it was great to see that. And got the job done, did what we needed to do. Spurs didn't really test us.
I can't believe the season's pretty much over, Scott. How crazy. You look back to August, we only lost one game at home in the league this season. We undefeated at home in 2025. Wow, what a season. I still can't believe it's coming to an end. Talking to people that obviously follow the great sport, and what are we going to do for a couple of months? It's weird. The pod obviously might not be having a week. Hopefully it is. Obviously got some stuff to do, but onto the game itself. Job done. Obviously they made us wait for it. We had to work hard to get the goals. I didn't give a shit if we won 1-0, 3-0, 17-0. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Job done.
Absolutely. And I mean, look, there's lots of different ways to sort of approach a game like that when the opposition really aren't, all there. They got their mind on other things. They've got the Europa League final, obviously, tonight against Man United. I can't believe one of those teams are going to be in the Champions League and we might not be. So that's a little bit of a different topic, maybe to talk about on another day. But I am going to watch that game because I think that's going to be, whoever loses is going to have a lot of pressure on them, and I'm here for it. Not to see the winning team. I want to see the losing team. But anyway, Villa. You can approach this sort of game. You go all out and try and get the early goal, or sort of do, I think, what we're best at, and maybe what Unai Emery set out to do, which was just try and control the game, and with our subs, with our sort of, eventually we're going to get the job done and just sort of be solid. And that's what we did. I don't think, they had a good maybe first 15 minutes. Son had a good shot early. I think there was another one from Tell where he did a little back heel that Emmy had to make a save. But that was it really. And then once we got our foot on the ball, and guys like Anana I thought was great. Matty Cash was was really good. Kamara, obviously, we got control, and this sort of second string Spurs team couldn't handle us.
No, but I think their best chances Spurs came on the break. Obviously, we dominated the game, and there's a couple of times they went through and when I could have put pressure on is, if that Son shot goes in 15 minutes in, we're 1-0 down at home. I think in previous seasons when we hadn't scored against a pretty shambolic team in the league, let's be honest, like they're 17th for a reason, the crowd got a little bit restless. But I think the crowd was a lot for this game plan. Like we kind of knew we'd break them down. Like we just had that one chance just to properly break them down. And Ezri Konsa scored some pretty important goals for Aston Villa over the time. Like he hasn't scored many, but he scored some important ones for us.
He certainly pops up when he's needed, and we were certainly needed him at that spot because, if it got to sort of 70 minutes, when it was still 0-0, then the nerves start kicking in, and anything can happen at that point. So, the goal came at a really nice time, and it was a nice finish from him. Really good knockdown from Ollie Watkins as well. His ability to win aerial duels is something that I think is underrated in his game. And, he certainly did well on that goal. Good movement. He sort of did a little bending run to the back post and, got a nice headed down. And Ezri did the rest. And then, of course, Kamara on his left foot, low shot into the corner. I loved it. It was a great goal. It was great to see the other players sort of push him towards the hole a bit and sort of say, go on, you've never scored at the hole. Enjoy it, and I think
his second Villa goal. I think he scored it at the North Stand in the EFL
League
Cup last year.
Yeah, League Cup. Yeah, and that was a bit of a sort of a scrappy, deflected goal, that one. Yeah. So this was
traceable.
A nice goal, yeah. And I think that's something we could maybe see more from him because he's got the technique and he sort of gets up and down, quite well, and he gets in those sort of positions. But I think it's a confidence thing because I never feel like he thinks he can score, but on this particular occasion, he looked like a striker. It was a great finish on his left foot. So it
was unbelievable. But I will say, Scott, that's probably because he's normally not in those sort of positions. The way he kind of plays for us, he's normally that anchor man. But he found himself in the right place at the right time. It was a great first touch from him, and it set up the absolute thunderbolt. And I mean, teams won't be given in time and space anymore.
Well, yeah, he's got that ability, doesn't he, to sort of get himself a yard of space because he's so technical. He's so good on the ball that good with both feet that he can very easily with a body feint or a little trick like get past someone. We've seen him don't do it in the midfield hundreds of times but if he can get sort of in and around the box a bit more and do that, then I think that'll be good for him. And I think the fact that Anana was playing next to him maybe gives him a little bit more license to go. I mean, when Tielemans plays there, Tielemans is the one guy that probably is, can venture forward out of those two,
Yeah.
So, maybe he was the one that was given a bit more license in this game. And, it worked. He scored the goal. But I guess the big talking point after the game was the sort of Emi Martinez crying, bit of emotion, almost like a goodbye, it felt like, to the fans. And I didn't see this coming. I wouldn't have thought, obviously there's been a lot of talk that we have to sell, but now there's a lot of rumors. Barcelona, Man United, Saudi is the big one. Do you think this is a good buy?
I don't know what to say, Scott. I'm actually speechless because it'd be sad. I'll be absolutely distraught if he leaves our football club because the way he's been able to develop as a player on the club scene and international level at Aston Villa, it just seems like unfinished business if he leaves. Like it really should be a big kick in the teeth. And this PSR shit is just the rich get richer. And if we're trying to make a charge, we're going to slap on the wrist. Like, Absolutely. It's just kind of ridiculous. And apparently we only value him at 40 million. That's got to be a bit of bollocks. That I reckon he's worth way more than that. But hopefully we're wrong and he wants to stay. And he was just a bit emotional because he kept a clean sheet. I don't know. It could be that. Definitely not. But...
it did look like he was saying goodbye, and hopefully I hadn't heard this 40 million evaluation. I was hoping it'd be closer to sort of 60, 70 because I mean he is a 2-time Golden Glove winner.
That's what I mean. But how bollocks is this, Scott? Though, like we've sold Diaby, we've sold Duran, we've sold Kellyman. We've sold Louise. We've sold I just don't quite get how it works. I just don't quite understand. And I guess that's kind of why Chris Heck and all the board and stuff want to expand our global image, because apparently Chelsea can, spend £1 billion because they sell more shirts around the world. I don't know. There's something wrong. There's something wrong, and I hope it's wrong. But, because we don't have to sell a couple of players, but hopefully not bloody Martinez. Like, it's just... Yeah, let's sell Kankers, Lahayden, let's sell Louis Barry, let's sell, Robin Olsen. Sell him to Saudi. I'm pretty sure you're pretty good over there. But
I did see a funny tweet where they had a picture of Olsen and they said, "Hey, Saudi, this is Emi Martinez." Look, I think... we did talk maybe one or two podcasts about maybe having to sell one of the big four, and it was Emmy, Kamara, Rogers, or Watkins, right? They're the sort of the four that we could probably sell. I guess out of those four, if I had to choose, Emmy is probably the one I'd go for, just because, I mean, I don't know. I know goalkeepers are so important, but maybe we could get someone
like that, Scott.
Maybe like if we got this Garcia guy that has been talked about for 20 mil from, I think it's Seville or somewhere in Spain. Like, he could be good, and Emmy's like, I guess, not getting any younger, but it is going to be awful because he's brought us so many great highlights. I mean, think about the penalty save against Sheffield United, the penalty shootout against Lille. Some of the saves he made. The one at Forest this season. The one, there's so many great saves and great moments that he's had for us. Like some of the games in the Champions Leagues, and he is a goalkeeper who, in those huge moments, he just seems to rise to the occasion, and almost drag the others along with him in a sort of, I've been here before, I've won the World Cup, I've won the Copa America twice, I know, what's needed. And, some of the more, younger, inexperienced players, he sort of, brings them along with him and takes him with him, and that's going to be missed. That's going to be missed if he does go.
100%. And I remember Douglas Luiz talking about it. He goes, like, he never got to say goodbye, and that's kind of one thing he regrets. And like for players like Leon Bailey and stuff that might not be at the club next year, it's a good chance for them to potentially do so, because a lot of players don't ever get the chance to do that. So. It's going to be emotional time if he leaves. Like it's going to be emotional. But look, let's get the season over.
Well, Leon Bailey was another one who was like seen touching the grass at Villa Park, and he looked a bit somber. So I think there will be a bit of a shake-up this season, but
big time
in the summer. But if we can get Champions League again, hopefully we don't have to sell, but it looks like that's the way it's going. So, look, let's talk about more positive news. Well, I don't know if it was positive news, but some of the other results didn't quite go our way in terms of qualifying for Champions League. Of course, Man City lost the FA Cup. Which means that now there is a possibility we finish in the conference leagues places if we finish 7th.
Yeah.
If we were to get beaten by Man United and Nottingham Forest and Chelsea go ahead of us. But look, what else was there? There was, of course, Chelsea beat Man United, didn't help us there. Nottingham Forest won, but I actually kind of think that's a good thing for us.
That's a good thing for us. I agree.
Yeah, because now that Chelsea Forest game has it all for play for. If Forest had got beaten there by West Ham, then that might be a bit of a fizz of that game, and we don't want that. We need Chelsea to drop points, and Newcastle lost to Arsenal, which I guess is good for us. And this is how it's looking. So I've got it up on the screen here. So Villa must win against Manchester United. That's the first thing, right? We have to go to Old Trafford and get a result. Now, we'll get a win. So they're playing, obviously, in the Europa League final tonight against Spurs. Hopefully that goes to extra time and there's people cramping up and injuries and, maybe sendings off and whatever. And they kick the hell out of each other. And, it's a real tough night for both teams. That would be good. And then they come back and they got nothing to play for. They play the kids in the last game and, they're already on the beach. That would be ideal, but we have to beat Man United. That's the first thing, right? Then we either need one of three things to happen. We need Chelsea to drop points against Nottingham Forest. So a Nottingham Forest win or a draw. We need, or if let's say Chelsea do win, we need Manchester City to lose to Fulham.
Not gonna happen.
Which, well, it's more unlikely, right? But if Manchester United beat Fulham or that's a draw, and Chelsea win, we need Newcastle not to win against Everton at home. So,
and Newcastle can draw against Everton as long as we draw as well. I think there's a way that if we draw a game, I think so. Newcastle have to lose to Everton, and we can get a draw. And to be enough,
right? Yeah. So that's the only way a draw will be good. Yeah.
But
that's probably unlikely. I think we're going to have to win. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns on that last day. The last day of the season is always crazy, no matter if it's like relegation or title deciders or Champions League football, European football, whatever it is. But I think Chelsea not winning is probably our best way
100%.
for it to happen.
100%.
And I think Nottingham Forest at home, I think they will get a result because
I really hope so.
You were saying before the pod you thought Chelsea were going to win, though. So
I said I'm praying. Like I can't.
Yes,
I
know. But could you see? Do you see that happening, or do you think it's we're up against it?
I think we're up against it, obviously, because the ball's not in our court. We're preying on results to go our way, and we have been for a long time of this season since we started going on this run.
Yeah.
I think that Forest have run their race. We've kind of seen that throughout the season. I know that's what teams thought about us, and they just have lost that fizz about them, if you know what I mean, against the big boys. Obviously, don't get me wrong, I want them to win, and I'll get a point at least. Like I'm praying for that to happen. But all we can focus on, Scott, is winning our game. If we don't win our game, nothing matters. So I
can see a situation where we beat United, right, and it's like 1-1 or maybe like 1-0 to Chelsea, right, and the away fans at Old Trafford are all on their phones, and as that last minute goal goes in, they just go absolutely nuts, and we make it somehow. That would be amazing to see, like a Villa on tour of that.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
what's all about, Scott? It's what's all about. Running the lockdown days, doing it to when we stayed up, all the boys on the pitch and stuff, and
And I remember, like back in the day, obviously it was transistor radios, and famously that's how Villa won the title in '81. Went to Highbury, lost, but luckily for us, Middlesbrough beat or drew with Ipswich, and that was enough for us to win the title. So even though we lost at Highbury, the fans were on the radios cheering, going nuts in the away end because that made us champions. So, it's a funny old game, and anything can happen. And I'm sure there'll be twists and turns, and we'll be like watching it through, from behind the sofa, or at times, not wanting to see what was going on. But look, if we could come out with Champions League football at the end of it, it's going to be great. If not, and we get Europa League, then that's still a good season in my eyes. But I think Conference League would be a little bit of a letdown. I won't lie, but
from where we are now, Scott, like we've won 8 out of 9, whatever it is, and whatnot, to get this close to Champions League, and if we were to get Conference League, it still would be disappointing. Like, I wouldn't be gutted with European football, but it'd just be a big kick in the teeth. Like, you're on the verge of Champions League football, and then
at least Europa League, you've got another way into the Champions League next season.
Exactly.
Right? You've got
look at United and Spurs.
Exactly. I mean, if they can get to the final, we can get to the final.
Yeah.
But I know that, with our PSR issues and that sort of thing, the money from the Champions League is super important and something we're going to have to, really contend with, I guess, if we don't make it. But, fingers crossed, when we come on here after next weekend, we'll be celebrating another year in the Champions League and another great journey, hopefully. So, look, another thing I want to quickly touch on was that I saw was the goal of the season. Did you see this? None of John Duran's goals were nominated for the goal of the season, and I just thought this was a little bit petty. Honestly, I mean,
it is real petty. And I was at the goal of the season live, like that.
Exactly. It's his goal against Everton, or maybe the Bayern one, maybe, right? I mean, those 2 goals are the best goals of the season if you just take the goal.
They're the best goals I've seen at all. So, like the one against Everton in particular, like that's really the best goal I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I mean, it shouldn't come into it the sort of context. But there's people saying, "Oh, I'm not going to vote for a goal that's from a guy that's not a Villa player." But
I'd vote for that goal.
It's the whole thing. Like, you can't erase the history. Like, he was a Villa player when like if he doesn't do that, we don't make Champions League.
Yeah,
so. It's just, and I just thought it was a little bit kind of petty from the club not to. I mean, he won it last year with his goal against Palace.
Yeah.
And just say to him, look, you played for us. I know you've left and whatever, but you still got a chance to win the goal of the season. I thought, so I thought that was a strange one. Also, everyone's doing their teams of the seasons, and I was really quite happy to see Gary Neville had Tielemans in his team of the season. Probably the only one out of like the sort of big pundits that I've seen have a Villa player. I guess Morgan Rogers was the other one, and Gary Neville did mention him as a sort of a one that just missed out on his team.
Mention,
yeah, but I know we're biased, but would you have Tielemans and maybe Rogers in your team of the season?
I would definitely have Tielemans. I think Rogers would miss out on mine. I'm not going to lie to you. I think in the position that he's been playing in, I do think there are better players than him this season.
I think he's just.
I think he'll win. I think Rogers will win Young Player of the Year for sure. But team of the season, I just think he'll just get edged.
Because a lot of people are saying Lewis Skelly, who
that's bullshit.
Young Player of the season.
That's bullshit.
I'd obviously vote for him because I love him.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see. So, we're going to wrap it up there. Nice quick one for the week, but we've got a huge show coming next week.
Got predictions, or are we going
to? We'll do some predictions now. Obviously, I'm going to say 2-0 against Man United, and that we finish 5th and we make the Champions League. Chelsea drop points. There's a draw against Forest, and we're celebrating next week. What about you?
I'm going to go a 2-0 Villa as well. And Watkins will score his first goal against Manchester United. How crazy is that, by the way? He has not scored a Premier League goal against Manchester United. Insane. And we are going to finish 5th. I got to say it for the pod.
Yeah, come on.
I got to say it for the pod. Heart says 5th, head says 6th, but I go with my heart.
It's got to go with your heart. Like, look, so thanks for all your support. Please like and subscribe, and tell your friends about it. And please hit the bell, because we're going to have a massive show, end of season show this week. Tommy should be back from Bali by then, and we'll get him on. Yeah, he's away. You know, it's not the same without him, but he should be back for that wrap-up show, and hopefully we'll all be celebrating. And until then, I hope you don't bite your fingernails off too much. And until the end of the season, a huge game on Sunday. It's up the Villa from me, and we'll see you next week.
Up the Villa.